I am Neil Larthos. I am the next Abdullah. You are the next Neville Goddard. Your SP gets wet every single time they think of you, and your bank account makes Jeff Bezos look homeless. What the gods do when they are ghosted. This actually is going to be a little bit of a different video, because in this video I'm going to be a little vulnerable, okay? I'm going to share with you, first of all, about the topic of getting ghosted and how you can manifest out of that situation, and why it has been something that I have struggled with the most, okay? Now, I have always had success with women, even before I got into the manifestation community. Okay, I've always had natural charisma. I've always been sexy as fuck, right? But one of the things I've noticed is, even leading up to recently, before I got into a relationship, I've had this thing where, whether it was through being needy or whether it was through being too thirsty and being too much of a horny bastard, I would get ghosted, right? And it was always, different reason, right? And who really 100% knows? Because it's not like you just go back to these women and you ask them what happened, right? But when I look at all the times that I got ghosted, it never was because I saw myself as the prize. It always was basically the dynamic ending where I was the chaser and I was the one being left on red, right? Clearly, because that's basically what ghosted is, right? It has nothing to do with being in a fucking haunted house. It's them basically leaving you on red, not returning your calls, etc., right? So it was never something where the dynamic continued to go great and then we both kind of lost mutual interest. It always basically ended, for whatever reason, whoever it was, that I ended as the chaser, right? And I didn't feel like the alpha, right? But listen to what I just said right there. Even though we all know that manifestation is not all about feeling, I didn't feel as the alpha. One, just by hearing that statement, could say I didn't see myself as the alpha. And remember, whatever you see, whatever you perceive, just replace see, perceive, think with the word imagination, and you understand that they are all the same. So I wasn't imagining myself as the alpha, right? So I'm going to do this video a little differently. I'm going to talk more about my story and how I kind of have been overcoming this. And I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. Right before I got into this relationship that I'm in, and by the way, this woman is great. She loves me. She's chasing me. There's mutual interest from both sides, and we love each other. And it was a relationship that I manifested, and things are going great. But even before this, there was several girls who ghosted me. And again, it happens to everybody, right? Shooters shoot, as they say, and you will miss some shots. But it wasn't so much that I got ghosted that I felt that I lost, but it was the way that I left those experiences feeling. It was the identity that I was in when I left those experiences that I felt like I lost. Not so much that me and that person are no longer talking, right? So instead of me giving you what you can do, just listen to my story and it'll basically tell you what you can do in your life, okay? So obviously I'm not going to go into details. I'm not going to reveal any names, but I noticed that with all these women who ghosted me, and some of them are women that, not every woman ghosted me, okay? I'm not going to put myself down completely, okay? Because like I said, I think my issue is that I was shooting from full court, half court, the bleachers, the press box, everything, right? Okay, that's just my problem. I was just, I was an American sniper, okay? But I noticed that I would enter into these situations with the confidence, with the swagger, right? And which was what attracted them in the first place. But usually what would end up happening is that we would either have sex, we would either do the deed, things would start getting serious. And I think when it would hit its peak, there was a part of me that felt, and remember, we can always replace felt with, there was always a part of me that saw. And when you can replace felt with saw, you can always say that there was a part of me that imagined. Imagining, seeing, feeling. If it's something that impresses the subconscious, it is in your imagination. Your imagination is simply the other reality that you are manifesting from. So whether it's thinking, seeing, feeling, it's all the same shit. I was seeing that this was too good to be true, that something was gonna go wrong. Now, when I look back at this, I realized that it wasn't something that I actually felt on the surface level. It was something that was deep within. Now, I just finished making a video about the psychology of a person who manifests money. And I was talking about how a lot of times it's not so much that you are not imagining correctly or affirming correctly, because it's easy to affirm that you have $1 million. Anybody can say that out of their mouth, but do you really believe that? A lot of people know just how hard it is to get money, and a lot of us grow up with the assumptions that it's extremely hard, that you have to work your ass off, even though a lot of us know the lazy asses who make money easy just by picking their nose, right? Well, it's the same thing here. Is like, I realize that I have assumptions ingrained into me from childhood when I used to be picked on for looking like a girl. Because when I was a kid, up until age 11, I had long curly hair all the way down to my butt. And it got to the point where I looked so much like a girl that my mom actually had to take me in the women's room with her. Because otherwise, if I went to the men's room, they were going to think that I was not supposed to be there. Which, looking back at that, I felt like my mom should have just allowed me to go to the men's room regardless. But I know why she also took me in the women's room, because usually my dad wasn't in the picture. So either way, I had to go. And she wasn't going to go in she wasn't going to let me use the bathroom, without her, right? But I always had an insecurity about how it looked, and I always had a feeling of femininity, because when you are a boy, and you see that 99% of your peers have short buzz cuts, and you're the only one who has to go like this all the time and like this all the time, it makes you feel like a girl. And when you subconsciously grow up with that, I mean, even to this day, when I go like this with my neck, I still can feel the hair. That's how ingrained it is on me. I still kind of feel like the subconscious desire to go like that, even though, I have my fucking army cut, right? My fucking high zero comb over fade, right? That's how ingrained this is. So if I know that I still haven't gotten over that, I know damn well that I have some assumptions about my physical appearance and my insecurities, where I don't feel like the most masculine all the time. And I think that whenever I get a woman chasing me, there is that part of me that I still have tried to overcome, this assumption of there's something wrong here. Maybe she doesn't know the real me, right? I've always had that in me, because I wanted to hide my childhood, because I, didn't want people to know of certain things of my family life. I always had this feeling of, once they see the real me, they're going to run away. That's why when I have relationships and I see that I remember like the other day with my girlfriend, I used to have a girlfriend in the past who was like, I don't want you to kiss me until you brush your teeth, right? Because I can taste the food on your mouth. And then my current girlfriend, I told her, I was like, hey, let's wait to eat. I'm gonna wait to eat later because, you know, we're gonna kiss and I don't want you to have to taste my food. And she was like, I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give two shits. Come here. And then she's fucking sucking on me like a fucking pucker fish, right? We're basically making chopped salads, Caesar style, in our throats, right? Tossing my salad, everything, right? Gourmet style. And all this was because I had this assumption that I wasn't good enough, right? And that other girlfriend who told me that I always have to brush my teeth whenever I kiss. And by the way, I agree with you. You should, right? Because I'm going to be honest with you. I've had girlfriends who had bad breath, and I don't like it. But what I'm saying is, just because one girl tells you that, just because when you're a kid and they make fun of you because you have long hair as a girl, as a guy, excuse me, and they think that you're a girl, just because you got ghosted once or because somebody said they don't like your shoes does not mean that everybody's going to hate your shoes. Does not mean that every girl is going to give a fuck if you brush your teeth before you kiss or not. Does not mean that that does not mean that your next girlfriend is going to care if you have long hair or not. Okay, I know some girls who would have loved to have my, you know, to have been with me when I had my long hair, right? But I grew up with that assumption, and because it became ingrained in me, it was something that I carried over, right? And that's why even to this day, whenever I'm at the peak of the sexual experience or when things are getting good in the talking stage, and I look at her Instagram profile and I say, wow, you know, she's one of the hottest girls that I've been with in a while. I remember that I have a success story on my channel with this girl who I call Connie. I manifested her, but I ended up pushing her away, right? And I think I have a video earlier in the beginning of the channel where I talk about how I pushed her away. I think it's called I Stopped... I don't know. It's like the video where I have like a side view and I wasn't wearing my sunglasses, right? But either ways, I manifested a girl once at work, and she was the hottest girl at work, right? And I remember she was so hot that even when she was sucking the brains out of my lips when we were making out, it only took a few days before she started ghosting me, right? I mean, I could not believe even when I went home that night that we made out, because I was just like, this is too good to be true, right? That's why being detached is so important, because when you make out with the hot girl, right? When you are getting DMs from the girl that ends up ghosting you, right? You have to act like, even if this is the first time that you've ever gotten pussy in 40 years, okay, you have to act like this happens to you all the time. Because remember, your subconscious does not know about your past. Your subconscious does not know the difference between right or wrong, good or bad, real or not. You have to tell yourself in that moment where you're getting excited, where your heart is pumping, right? Like, I remember one time I got this number from a girl who, this was actually the last girl that ghosted me, right? It was a girl who I never even met in my life. I mistook her for a customer that I haven't seen in a long time. And it was right after I was getting a haircut and I was feeling myself, you know, I was on top of the world, because we all know that feeling that when we get a haircut, right? Well, you know, I was just greeting her and I was like, hey, how come you haven't come to the restaurant lately? And she was like, I don't speak English. And I'm like, what? And she comes over to my car. Meanwhile, humongous cleavage to the point where I, you know, no wonder couldn't even tell that it was her, right? Next thing you know, I'm like, wait a second, I thought you were somebody else, but hey, are you married? And she's like, no. And then I get my phone out and I'm like, here, give me your number. And without even her having to do anything on her phone, she already had her fucking number ready on her WhatsApp, as if she was waiting for me to ask her, bro. Again, slim, thick, you know, her boobs were probably bigger than her torso. I mean, dude, I think she was fucking Syrian. Oh my God, dude. Yes. No, she was Persian. I'm sorry. Yes. you know, and she was already talking about on the first day, like, she doesn't want me to break her heart, and, you know, that she hopes that I'm not like the other guys, and that she hopes that I'm just not playing games. And I remember that we were going to meet up one day, and then I canceled, and then a week after that, I tried to meet up with her, and then she just left me on red, right? And I think she ended up blocking my number after that. Now, to be fair, that one could have been because she didn't like that I canceled the first time, right? But I remember when I got her number, dude, my heart was pounding so hard, I could not even wait until she responded, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. And I even remember telling myself, this is the complete wrong way to be acting right now, right? And again, we've heard it said before that the way you act in the 3D should not matter, because you can do whatever as long as you impress the subconscious and the plant and the seed has been planted. But this was a person who, you know, I didn't plant the seed. And I will say, like, if you have a strong assumption, no matter how strong the imaginal act or affirmation is, if you tell yourself, I get all the girls and girls never ghost me, but yet you have this idea that it is surprising that a girl of her caliber would even be talking to you, that the only girls who don't ghost you are girls with daddy issues and who are too clingy, because I'm going to be honest with you, that's an assumption that I still struggle with. If you have that assumption, then it doesn't matter if you robotically affirm 5 million times an hour. You are going to not get your manifestation. And as a matter of fact, you're going to manifest them ghosting you. Okay? And isn't it something that something told me that because I was going into this interaction with her, and remember, this was before she was telling me that I don't want you to break my heart, and, you know, I was even flirting with her and saying, oh, you know, just wait till, you know, I get my hands on you. And she was just laughing, hee hee, you know, sending me pictures and stuff like that, right? I went into this with the mindset, basically, when people say that you're going into it with the mindset, just replace that with, I'm going into it in the state of. I was going into it with the mindset of, I was going into it in the state of the person who this usually doesn't happen to me, right? Even though I was trying to play it cool, I was trying to act alpha, I wasn't acting like the guy, like, this is so easy and this always happens. And she picked up on that, right? And maybe the fact that I canceled at the last minute was not only something that upset her, but maybe she said, oh, he's probably nervous. Oh, he probably doesn't even know how to handle a woman like me. He's, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing, right? All because I was in the state of, this usually doesn't happen to me, right? So the harder the girl is, the more you're going to realize that she will ghost you if you don't know how to treat her like other girls. So I'm going to give you a technique right now that is borderline controversial, but something that has helped me to put a band-aid on the 3D. Whenever you feel like this girl is on the pedestal, whenever you feel like you cannot believe that this girl is actually responding to your messages, and you even are borderline thinking, like, what if this is a fucking spam account, right? Or it's a girl who you're flirting with, you know, who you got her number, and, you know, she has like 50 million guys in her inbox, and you're wondering, why did she pick me, right? There's no way this is going to work out. She'll probably ghost me. The best way is, I got this from a guy whose name is Alexis, who has a channel called Mindful Seduction, okay? And he had a video called How to Flirt Like Hank Moody. Hank Moody, like the character from Californication. And in that video, he talked about how you want to talk to the inner child of the woman, okay? And for any of you fucking pedophiles out there, you fucking weirdos, fuck off, okay? We're not talking about anything like this. You want to talk to her like, almost like if you were talking to the child version of her. With my current girlfriend, I've tried this on her, and what I will do is, obviously she is a beautiful woman in her 20s, but I will look at her face, and even though she looks very mature, I would imagine almost like an AI generated imagery of what she probably would look like when she was a kid, right? And again, this is not some weird fucking shit. Fuck you. We all have an inner child that we speak to, right? And everybody can interact with somebody else's inner child, right? Whatever you put in your awareness, whatever you connect with in your consciousness, you are connecting with it right now in real time. Okay. A better example is, okay, you're at a bar and you see the hot girl with the big fucking tits, big ass. All the guys cannot stop drooling over her, right? They're putting her on a pedestal. She's getting all the attention. If you were to go up to her and say, "Oh my gosh, you're beautiful," it's nothing new to her. She hears that every like 5 million times an hour, right? Well, if you are the guy who looks at her and treats her like normal, you want to know the easiest way to do that is to treat her like the way you would treat the little girl version of her. Because unless you're a fucking sicko, you are not gonna be drooling over a little girl, okay? And again, I'm trying my best to tread lightly with this fucking example. I got this from Alexis Mindful Seduction, but I understand what he's trying to say. You see, when there is a detachment from her beauty and you just see her as a human being, that is one of the easiest ways to see a woman as a human being. Another way to say it is to realize that she used to be just a little girl who used to pick her nose, who used to watch My Little Pony, right? Or if you are that much of a weirdo and that imagery is just so goofy for you and just so weird, treat her like a sister. Treat her like a girl who you are not attracted to. But the point is have this imaginal perspective whenever you're interacting with this girl. Don't see her the way you see her in the 3D. See her the way you see her in the 4D, right? Imagine her as someone who you are not attracted to, right? She could be the same age. But for me, the reason why talking to her inner child works is because not only do you take her off the pedestal, right? But, you also see other things about her. Like, for instance, when I see even like a nuance thing that she does with her eyes, right? I imagine, well, if the little girl version of her did that with her eyes, instead of me just thinking about, oh my gosh, she looks so sexy, if I saw the little girl version of her eyes do that, I would say, oh, she looks worried. Oh, she looks like if she is distracted. Maybe I should leave her alone. But you see, a lot of us guys, when we are drooling over this girl, we are so horny that all we see is tits. But when you look at her as just a woman who used to be a little girl who has a dad and a mother who love her, you see her do that with her eyes, and you're like, huh, she seems tired. Maybe I'll just call it a night and let her be, right? Or even when you're texting. If you had a little sister who was texting you dry, you'd be like, oh, she's probably watching her show. I'm gonna let her watch her show. But when you just see her as the hot chick, you're like, oh my gosh, she's texting me. Fuck, when can I get that pussy, right? So, because a lot of us guys struggle with putting women on the pedestal, this is something that I've seen deflates the fuck out of the balloon, okay? And like I said, if the whole talking to her inner child thing is weird for you, you can always just simply ask yourself, how would it be like if she's unattractive? But the reason why I say that the inner child thing is a little bit more easier is because you can still see her, but just make her into, when she was a kid, and you completely, the sexual attraction just goes out the fucking window, right? Though, if you think of her as an unattractive person, this can be very difficult when you just keep looking at her tits, okay? That is a band-aid that I would use, right? But other than that, guys, gods ultimately do not see women as objects. They do see them as human beings or other eternal beings living in a human experience. And they see them as one. She's not better than you. In reality, because you are the God of your life, you're better than her. So if there was an affirmation that I would tell you to do when it comes to these women who always ghost you, or who you think are going to ghost you, or it's just too good to be true, always tell yourself, dude, I'm way better than her. She's lucky to fucking have me. Okay? I know why she's texting me, because she knows that I bump her sexual market value, because when all her friends see her with me, dude, it bumps her status up tenfold, 100-fold, a millionfold. Okay? Give yourself a 5-second first-person perspective imaginal act where you're talking with one of your close friends and they say that, dude, I cannot believe you bagged Sarah, bro. She cannot stop fucking telling me how in love she is with you. And just repeat that. Make it in an environment that you guys always hang out at. That way it's very extremely easy to go to that place in your imagination. The easier you make it, the more vivid it will be. And just keep doing that. Even if you have to do it a million times, do it until you impress your subconscious. And like I always say, the way that you know that you impress the subconscious, you'll know. Just the same way that no one has to tell you how it feels like when you have to fart. It's the same way that it feels like whenever you impress your subconscious. You will know. No one will have to tell you. Okay? You can either do that, you can either affirm those affirmations that I just mentioned until you impress your subconscious, but do it and make sure that you don't have any assumptions in the way like I did. And like I said, you can do an assumption change just the same way that you do an imaginal act for SPs, or the same way that you do affirmations. I would do an imaginal act for an assumption change, and I would do the same thing of when you're talking with your friend at that same place that you guys always go to. It feels like second nature. Maybe it's the fucking cafe and you always hear them playing the shitty country music. You know, he's wearing the same fucking hoodie that he wears that he never fucking washes, right? And just imagine him telling you, bro, you know, I wish I was more like you. You just seem to always attract girls and not give a fuck. Dude, I wish I was more like you. You seem to always attract girls and not give a fuck. You seem to always attract girls and not give a fuck. Then slow-mo that shit. You seem to always attract girls and not give a fuck. And do that until it impresses your subconscious. Until your subconscious knows, like, oh shit, you are him. You are that motherfucker where this is nothing to you, right? That's what I would do if you are one like me who struggled with that ghosting thing, right? And I'm gonna be as transparent as possible. This is my most transparent video. If I was not in a relationship currently, I probably would still have those assumptions that I need to work on. The only reason why I haven't really worked on them lately is because I'm in this relationship, but maybe I should still work on it, right? That way I don't maybe carry anything into this current relationship, right? But I'm gonna be honest with you, my assumptions with this girl are really good, because it's not very difficult for you to have good assumptions with someone like her who is just madly in love with you. She makes it easy. And to be honest, gentlemen, you want to be with a woman who makes it easy. But I hope that this video helps. And again, you fucking weirdos, that inner child thing, let's be fucking mature here, guys. You know exactly what the fuck I'm saying. I will, even if I remember to, I'll leave a link if that video's still posted, right? I will leave a link of the video where Mindful Seduction explains that. Or I think it's Mindful Attraction, something like that. By the way, he has a great channel too. Now, he's not manifestation, he's red pill content, but even though he's red pill and I don't support the red pill, I think out of all of them, he has more of a psychological approach that I respect. So yeah, you can check out his channel too. Hopefully I remember to leave a link. But until then, guys, I am Neil Larthos. This is all that the I'm Awareness had to say, and I know you're gonna be okay.